Hey guys, what's up? My name is Bharat, you're watching iGyan, and Apple just completed WWDC 2022 and lots of new software announcements, but some new hardware announcements as well. So we'll quickly go through them. The major one being iOS 16 as far as software is concerned, with lots of new upgrades, including the lock screen upgrade, wherein which you can now have dynamic wallpapers. You also have the ability to customize your photo styles, and you can add widgets and customize the complete look of the lock screen. You also have something called Live Action, which will show you what currently is going on. So if you're listening to music, you'll have the controls at the bottom of the lock screen, and you can expand it to consume the entire lock screen. And you also have updates from delivery apps and other things like maps directly in the lock screen as well. And it is all interactable. So you can interact with this information and it'll be conveniently available in the lock screen. Other updates include a solid upgrade to messages, in which now you can edit sent messages. So if you want to change something around, you can do that in messages. You can also undo send. So you can sort of have these messages unsent. So you can struggle sometimes when you send something wrong to somebody. It can be completely undoed, or you can undo send that message and it'll be removed from the messages app. This is a really useful feature to have. And of course, in the editing, it will say that the message has been edited. And the same goes for an undo send. More importantly, some interesting features added to photo and video capabilities. So you did have live text in photo. You can now have that in video as well. So you can select a portion of text while watching a video. Anytime you pause it, you can simply select the text from the screen. This can be really useful if you are taking down notes from a lecture, or if you're coding, as the example that they showed during WWDC. If you are learning how to code, and if some sort of code is displayed on the screen, you can pause and completely select that text, and you can basically copy it onto your screen. This is really useful for a lot of people, and it worked really well in images, and we are excited to see it come to video as well. There are also some additional features which include some drag and drop features. So you can now select an image and it'll automatically remove the background, and you can share it or add it to a presentation or anything. So if you select an image from the web and you struggle with removing the background, now you can do that easily with drag and drop. One of the most interesting features for the iOS update for me was the new upgraded CarPlay. Now, of course, this will come to cars where manufacturers have already integrated CarPlay, but all of these customizations will be available on all screens of the car. So earlier it was only available in the infotainment, but you've seen modern cars now have digital gauge clusters and digital sort of air conditioning control screens as well. All of those will be now controlled with a CarPlay interface. And boy, did the demonstration look good. Some of the examples that they showed off, the colors, absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see it in cars. And it will become a major reason for people buying cars with CarPlay. And if this integration comes down to our consumer level cars, that'll be a great thing to see, and hopefully we see that in the near future. But CarPlay announcement was really exciting nonetheless. Another important feature that Apple introduced was Passkey. Now this will completely replace passwords, and you'll use your Touch ID or Face ID to generate a random code which will link you directly into the app or the website you're trying to log in. So there'll be no passwords. If somebody's trying to do a phishing attack, or if somebody's trying to hack into that information will not be available. And since there will be no password, it'll make it extremely difficult to hack into those credentials. And since it'll be linked directly with the secure enclave on devices, it'll be very difficult for anybody to sort of hack it or reproduce it. More importantly, it'll use iCloud Keychain to transfer between devices. So as long as you have Keychain on your devices, you'll be able to use Passkey. Now, Apple mentioned that Passkey will be available across other devices as well, and they've spoken to Microsoft as well as Google to make sure they can integrate it into their platforms as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out, but a really cool feature, and I feel this is going to become an industry standard. Already people are using Apple Login to log into devices and websites and apps. Now we'll be able to see Passkey as an option, and that'll be a really cool feature, and it'll give you better encryption, and it'll also remove the need to remember passwords for every other website. There's also a new security tool. Now this is for people who go through domestic violence or have a partner that will have acts of violence. And if you do have linked accounts, this makes it easier for you to unlink your accounts. It makes it easier for you to remove any kind of access that somebody else may have in your phone, and it sort of gives you your control back to your data. This is a really useful tool and will come in handy for a lot of people. And it's great to see companies finally looking into this aspect of security and privacy and making it available to the people. Apart from all the features that you saw on the iOS update, there are several features that are iPad specific, including the new Stage Manager. Now this is like a multitasking window that is coming to both macOS as well as iPadOS, and this allows you to control your apps, and now you can also customize the size of the window of any app that is on your screen, and you can have up to 8 screens on your Mac. And you can also now connect an external display and have some of the information sent to that display. And while you continue interacting with the iPad directly, you can also directly interact with the screen that is above it if you're using the trackpad case. And you can also connect an external mouse and continue that interaction with an external keyboard and a mouse. If you're using the case, which does have a built-in keyboard and a trackpad, you'll be able to do that directly from that as well. This connectivity will make it a much more productive device than it already is. And now, because you can customize the windows and the layouts, that means that you can get much more work done and much more multitasking done in the iPad as well. Apple also showed off Freeform app that they're going to launch sometime later in the year. This will allow several people to connect into like a large whiteboard and be constantly discussing things. So imagine a big white piece of paper where everyone is jotting down their own things and writing down their own information, and then you can move around and see who's writing what. A really cool feature and something interesting to test out when iPad OS 16 does fully launch, and something that we're eager to test out as well. Another important thing for content creators is the reference color feature. Now this will allow you to connect the device to other displays as well, but because of the quality of the iPad Pro screen, you will be able to use it as a reference color monitor, and that can be really good for some content creators. And at a professional level, you will be able to use the iPad. Now these screens are usually really expensive, and having this feature built into the iPad is something that people will be envious of if they don't own an iPad. Something that again we are looking forward to testing out as well. And one of the big things for iPad OS is the weather app finally comes to the iPad OS. Now, after many years of the iPad existing, you will have a weather app directly on the iPad, something that I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to see. And it's a full-fledged, full-screen weather app. And they've taken care of basically all the animations and everything, and it kind of looks good as far as in the demo we saw. Now let's move on to what is the most exciting part of this year's WWDC, which was the announcements of the new MacBook Air. After a very long time, the MacBook Air gets a all-new design. Now this is completely like the new MacBook Pros that we've seen, the 14-inch and the 16-inch. So the new MacBook Airs also get the same sort of design, and you also get the new MagSafe connector. There's also a new power adapter that has 2 USB-C outs, something that I absolutely like, because if you're traveling, for example, I am right now, having that additional USB-C port means that you can charge your phone and your laptop at the same time, and that's a really cool feature. I wish they would have thought of this earlier, but now it is available. The new MacBook Airs will start in India at a price of 1,19,000 rupees. It is up from the last generation, but these new MacBook Airs also include the new Apple M2 chip. Now this is a significant upgrade over last generation's M1. While you get an 8-core processor as well as a 10-core GPU, you do have a second generation 5nm process here. So you do get 15 billion transistors as opposed to the 18 billion last time around. So you get an even more energy efficient product as far as the M2 chip is concerned. It has a new memory controller that can support 100 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth, which is also up from last year. And this time around, you can also get up to 24 gigabytes of unified memory, which includes a faster lane process. So you will get more capability from the same size chip and even more energy efficiency. So we can expect better battery life, better performance, and overall a better product as far as the M2 chip is concerned. Now, of course, this is also going to translate into the M2 Pro and the M2 Ultra if and whenever they are launched. But right now, let's talk about the MacBook Air. The MacBook Air also gets the same design as far as the display is concerned. The display is a 13.6-inch liquid retina display, and it does get a 500 nits of brightness, which is also up from last time around. And you do get the notch as well. And because of the way this is designed, instead of getting lesser screen because of the notch, you're actually getting more screen, because previously the part around the cameras was a bezel. This time around, the web camera is completely engulfed by the screen itself. So that gives you some additional screen real estate, and you also get better brightness this time around. What's also included is a new 1080p webcam. So the front-facing camera, the FaceTime camera, is a 1080p camera. So if you're doing video calls or whatever, you can get that better resolution. But there are more features in macOS that we're going to talk about that will completely replace the need for a webcam as well. What's also built into the MacBook Air are 3 microphones as well as a 4-speaker setup, which means that we'll also get to see some of that capability of the speakers that we saw on the MacBook Pros right here on the MacBook Airs as well. So that's also something exciting that we are looking forward to. You still get the big trackpad and the keyboard that we've seen. So overall, it seems like a pretty solid upgrade from last generation of the MacBook Air, which also didn't have a design change for a very long time. Apart from that, you do continue to get two Thunderbolt 4 ports. These will be used for data transfers, and because now you have a separate MagSafe port, one port will not be sacrificed if you're charging your device. The 3.5mm headphone jack also supports high impedance audio output, so you can connect some higher end high impedance headphones to this and listen directly from the Mac. No need for an external DAC or an amplifier, which is also a really useful tool to have if you're somebody who's working on the go or editing or referencing sound or something like that. So completely redesigned as far as hardware is concerned from the outside as well as inside. And you can get up to 2 TB of storage here as well. And like I mentioned, 24 GB of RAM, which is a feature of the M2 chip. The design is completely fanless still, and it promises up to 20 hours of battery life. The newer generation MacBook Pros, also the 13-inch, will get the M2 chip as well. So those also get upgraded, and they also continue to get the same features along with the new design that is similar to the higher end versions. And really looking forward to testing these out, and we'll have a video on that shortly for you guys. But there were some also announcements as far as macOS is concerned. So you get all of the features that we talked about on iPadOS and iOS that do translate into macOS as well. Upgrades to Maps. You do have a Stage Manager, which is great for multitasking. You can use it to control your windows. You also have some really cool continuity features which allow you to basically use your iPhone's main camera as a webcam. And then there's also a desk view mode in which you can have the main ultra wide camera on the iPhone be split into two parts. So one can be on your face and the other part can be looking down at the desk to give you a top view. This is something really interesting and worth checking out, and they use only one camera for this, the ultra wide, to get those two views, and the demo looked absolutely incredible, and we're looking forward to testing that out as well. So watchOS 9 also gets some significant updates as well. You get a whole host of new watch faces, but more importantly, there are several upgrades to the way it tracks you. So if you're looking at workouts, a new upgrade into running, which tracks human body oscillations as well based on your run styles. It will automatically track whether you are getting efficient running or whether you're losing all your energy in jumping higher, and that will improve or allow you to improve your runs, as well as several other sports activity tracking has been improved. There's also more fitness features available to users as the fitness apps now become available on iOS as well. So if you don't have an Apple Watch, you want to continue tracking your fitness through the day, you will have that ability on the iPhone as well. There are also several sleep insights now available on watchOS 9, so you'll be able to see when you were in deep sleep and when you were in light sleep, among other several sleep features. So another important medical feature that's been added is called arterial fibrillation history. So if you have an AFib incident, it'll track that and keep that information on the watch so that you can sort of discuss it with your doctor, so that you have a history of your AFib activity, and it'll keep a track of that directly on the Apple Watch, which can be really useful for a lot of people who are struggling with this condition. Another feature that has been added is medication, and now this is really important. So if you're somebody who takes daily medications, you can set up your medication as a tracker, so it'll track every time you've taken your medication, and you can also set up medication reminders so that you can be reminded every time you need to take your medication, because that is something that people often forget. So there's a dedicated app for medications that you can have on the watchOS that will give you all of those features. There's also a really interesting feature that was added, was drug-to-drug reactions. So if you take different types of drugs, so if you take, say, an anti-allergy as well as a vitamin, it will look at those reactions between those two medicines and tell you whether or not they should be taken together. Or if there is a medication that you take that should not be mixed with alcohol, it will give you that information in the medications app, that, for example, a certain type of medication should not be had if you're drinking alcohol. So all of these things are really important for consumers, people who use medications. So keeping a track of that when the medications app is going to be really cool. Now, that is basically the gist of WWDC. There's a lot other announcements, so we'll have all of that information coming to you shortly. We'll also have a hands-on with the MacBook Air with the new M2 chip coming out to you guys shortly as well. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're not already a part of Team iGyan, this has been Bharat. I'll see you guys in the next one.